So we've all seen the Resident Evil 4 Remake trailer by now, and in that trailer we see Ashley running around frantically in what appears to be the village segment of the game. And that's really interesting because in the original version she was being held captive inside the church. So it's kind of cool to see that Capcom is doing something a little different with the character based off of this trailer. But the question to be asked is, how did she manage to escape? How is it that she is running around freely in the village and isn't being guarded by Ganados or being withheld in the church? I have 3 theories that I'm going to discuss in this video that I think could be the potential answer. So we'll go ahead and get started with those right now. The first thing that I think could possibly be the answer is that these events with Ashley are taking place before the main events of the game. So this is all before Leon shows up to save her, and this is her attempt at trying to escape. So maybe the first chapter of Resident Evil 4 actually starts us off playing as Ashley instead of playing as Leon, to kind of kick it off with a bit of a horror element, and I think that would be really cool to see. We play as Ashley and we see her side of the story where she attempts to escape the village herself, and so she's trying to avoid the Ganados and everything and get out of this place. But at the same time, Chief Mendez would be hunting her down as kind of like that pursuer type, looking for her and seeking her out. And at the end of the chapter, she would ultimately get captured, to where she would then get put into the church where Leon would eventually find her. I could definitely see that being the direction they'll take it. Not to mention the trailer kind of hints at this as well, because when you watch the trailer, you see the clips of her and she's running around the village, and then later on you'll see like a close-up shot of her, and then soon after that you see the church itself and you hear a scream from the distance that you have to assume is Ashley. There's a good possibility that they're hinting that that's when she gets captured, and this is where they're taking her, to the church, where she'll be locked away until Leon arrives to rescue her. So I could definitely see that being what they'll do. Another thing that they could do is that Ashley herself could manage to somehow escape the church, and from there she starts running around the village looking for a way to escape this place and get away from the people who have kidnapped her. That would be a very interesting twist on things, because even if you played the original, you'll be surprised when you get to the church only to find that there's no one there and that it's just an empty building. Even though Leon was giving intel suggesting this is where they were holding her, that's not the case, because she broke free and now is running around the village. And I think if this is the way they go, maybe when Leon gets there and finds out she's not there, that's like the end of that chapter, and then the next chapter Ashley's playable, and so we get to explore the next chapter as Ashley. That's where the horror elements kind of kick in, and we get to try and escape as Ashley at that point. And then of course Leon and Ashley would still need to cross paths at some point, so maybe at the end of the chapter she's about to get captured by a bunch of Ganados or something like that, and then all of a sudden Leon shows up and he saves her, and then that's when she decides to trust him because she just got saved by him, and he explains who he is and all this stuff. And so maybe that's the direction they take it. Ashley herself manages to break out of the church. The final thing that I'm thinking here is that Leon does save her from the church. Like, he does rescue her from the church like he originally does, but later on something happens that causes them to get separated, and so now they are trying to reunite. And so maybe at this point Ashley becomes playable for a chapter where in this chapter we're trying to reunite with Leon. We're avoiding Ganados and stuff like that, and again this is where it's a big survival horror element to it, playing as Ashley. So maybe that's what they do. And if they do something like that, maybe they have a chapter for Ashley in each segment. So village, castle, island, Ashley gets one playable chapter in each one of these where she and Leon get separated. Because in the original game they always got separated, but it was always due to her getting captured. She falls in a trap, or Sadler takes control of her, or something like that. She was always getting captured, and that's why they got separated. But there was never really any point where they got separated and Ashley was just kind of freely exploring herself, trying to reunite with Leon. So maybe they do that in this game, where they do get separated and you play as Ashley for a chapter trying to reunite with Leon. But those are my thoughts on what they could be doing with Ashley and why it is she's just kind of freely roaming around the village in the trailer. But let me know what you think. I'm going to go ahead and end this video here, and I shall see you all on the next one. See ya then.